3 in the morning and you are already awake. The bedroom is still and the house is quiet, but your mouth is dry as chalk, and the pull toward the bathroom has you sitting up before you have decided to move. You drink from the glass on the nightstand. You lie back down. Within 20 minutes, the thirst has crept back in. If you want to understand why your body is doing this, do not look only at what you had for supper last night. Do not wait for a number on a lab slip to climb into the red. The warning is already written in 10 different places on your body right now, and most of those places are ones the English walk right past without ever knowing what they mean. Come, sit with me a moment. I want to show you where to look. What I am about to share could protect something worth far more than a number on a piece of paper. It could protect the mornings when a grandchild climbs into your lap before school, the way small children reach for what has always felt safe. And the years ahead, when you can still lace your own shoes and walk to the garden without stopping to rest. Most doctors move through appointments in 7 minutes, and the guidelines they follow are built around prescriptions and test results, not around the quiet language a body speaks in the years before those results change. What we are going to cover lives far outside any pill bottle, and that is exactly why most people never hear it in time. My name is Rebecca Yoder. For 65 years, I have cared for the health of our folks in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, through the foods, herbs, and plain living practices my mother passed to me and her mother before her, going back 5 generations in this valley. My grandmother told me that all lasting sickness finds its beginning somewhere in the belly, and that the blood, the nerves, the eyes, the skin are only showing what the belly has been carrying for a long time. I have watched researchers come to our community with their notebooks and their questions, and what they find in our blood and our lifespans always surprises them. It does not surprise me. I have watched 5 generations live by these principles. In 5 generations of the women in our community who kept to the old ways of eating, walking, and rest, we have almost never seen the kind of creeping blood sugar that now touches 1 in 3 adults across this country. Researchers from a university outside Philadelphia came to study our health markers some years back and left shaking their heads at what they found. The laboratories confirmed what my grandmother had already shown in our neighbors for decades. The tradition arrives first. The studies catch up when they are ready. Before we begin, I want to tell you something. One of these 10 signs is going to stop you. 9 out of 10 people see it every single day in the mirror and have no idea what it means. The order we move through matters, because each sign is a layer deeper in the same story. Watch this all the way through, because number 1 is the one I have been waiting to share. It holds everything else together. Leave a comment below and tell me your age. And tell me how many of these 10 signs you recognize in your own body right now. I read every single comment on this channel, and your answers help me understand what to bring to you next. In this video, I am going to show you the one sign that writes itself on the skin with nothing to do with what most people guess. I am going to walk through why the tiredness after eating is a specific message from the blood, not simply the weight of years. I am going to share the nerve warning that often arrives long before any doctor uses a formal word. I am going to point to the silent immune sign that women over 60 are especially prone to missing. And at number 1, the master sign underneath all the others, the one my grandmother called the root of the quiet sickness, the one I have watched turn around more times than I can count when neighbors finally understood what it was asking. One small kindness before we go further. If you are not yet subscribed, take 2 seconds and press that button. Every week I share what our family has gathered across generations, and it costs nothing at all. Number 10, the thirst that does not quit. When blood sugar climbs beyond what the kidneys can manage quietly, they pull extra water into the urine to flush it out. The body calls for more water to replace what it loses, and the cycle keeps running. Doctors call this osmotic diuresis. Think of a bathtub drain you cannot close, no matter how much you pour in. After 70, the kidneys have less reserve to handle this silently. My grandmother called it the thirst from inside the blood, meaning the kind no cup of water fully satisfies until the blood itself calms down. If you are waking more than once most nights to use the bathroom, this sign and the next are almost certainly walking together. A 10-minute walk after supper pulls sugar directly into the working muscles without waiting on insulin. 5 generations of plain living have shown this works. The next sign hides right behind your eyes. Number 9. Vision that blurs and shifts through the day. When blood sugar rises, water is pulled into the lens of the eye, reshaping it just slightly, enough to make words on a page swim, enough to soften a face across the room. Doctors call this osmotic lens swelling. It is not cataracts building slowly. It comes and goes as blood sugar moves up and down. Older eyes have less resilience to compensate for these shifts quietly after 65. Dorothy, 71 years old, a retired nurse from Flagstaff, Arizona, had been buying stronger reading glasses every few months for nearly 2 years. What had been overlooked was a slow, steady rise in her fasting blood sugar. Once she adjusted her morning meals and added a daily walk, her vision had stabilized within 8 weeks. She told me her eyes felt like her own again for the first time in years. This next sign most people blame on something else entirely. Number 8. Wounds and cuts that take too long to close. Elevated blood sugar stiffens the walls of the tiny vessels that carry healing blood to the surface of the skin. Doctors call this microvascular damage. Think of trying to water a garden through a hose that has hardened inside and barely bends. After 60, skin is thinner and healing is already slower. When blood sugar adds its weight to that slowness, small cuts or scrapes that once vanished in 3 or 4 days may linger for 2 or 3 weeks. If a small wound on your hand or shin is taking 3 weeks to close, that is a message worth hearing, not a reason to reach for a bandage and move on. Keep this in mind for what follows. Number 7, tingling, burning, or numbness in the feet or hands. This is called peripheral neuropathy. When blood sugar runs high over months or years, it slowly damages the long nerve fibers that reach down to the feet and out to the fingertips. The feeling described most often is pins and needles that will not move on, or a burning that settles into the soles at night. After 65, nerve repair slows considerably, and early tingling that might resolve in a younger body can take root if the blood sugar beneath it is never addressed. Robert, 72 years old, a retired mail carrier from Boise, Idaho, had been waking to burning feet for 8 months and dismissed it as wear from his years of walking routes. What had been overlooked was a fasting blood sugar that had been climbing steadily for 3 years. Within 5 months of meal changes and daily bone broth, the burning had reduced by more than 50%. He said to me, "I never knew those two things were connected, Rebecca." Here I want to say something about the inner foundation the body works from. After 60, many of us have lost close to 30% of the beneficial gut bacteria we carried in our 40s. Most people reach for a probiotic, and that is a beginning. But probiotics need prebiotic fiber to survive and multiply. And together, those two produce what researchers now call postbiotics, the healing compounds the bacteria actually make. Think of it as a gardener would. The seeds are the probiotics, the prepared soil is the prebiotic fiber, and the harvest is the postbiotic. Without all three working together, the garden produces very little. The belly is where much of the work of blood sugar regulation either happens well or does not happen at all. Number 6, deep fatigue after meals. When cells lose their sensitivity to insulin, blood sugar cannot enter where it needs to go. The body has fuel in the blood, but the doors to the cells are not opening properly. Doctors call this insulin resistance. What it produces is a heaviness that arrives 30 to 60 minutes after eating, pressing down and asking you to stop. After 65, this becomes more common because the cell receptors that respond to insulin grow less sensitive with age. My grandmother always said, when the tiredness follows the meal, look to what the food is asking of the blood, not to how many hours you slept. Now, number 5. The sign you may be looking at every single morning without knowing what it means. This is the one I mentioned at the beginning, the one 9 out of 10 people miss entirely. In the medical books, it carries the name acanthosis nigricans, but our folks would simply call it a darkening in the folds. Dark, slightly velvety patches of skin at the back of the neck, in the creases of the armpits, or anywhere skin folds on itself and stays warm. People scrub at them and blame their soap or simply the years. These patches are the body's response to chronically elevated insulin in the blood, which causes skin cells in those soft creases to multiply too quickly and pile up in a way that changes the color and texture. This is a visible message from your insulin. If you are seeing this at your neck or under your arms, it is not a hygiene concern. It is a conversation your body has been trying to start for some time. I want to stop for a moment here. The question I hear most from our neighbors is what they can do to support the inner work alongside these daily habits. The practice I rely on for this and share with the folks who ask me directly is Buchbod. It is a daily kombucha gummy, not a capsule or pill, and it carries all three parts I described above: the prebiotic fiber, the probiotic strain called lactospore, and the postbiotic compound called postbiotics LM124. It also contains dandelion root and slippery elm, two plants my grandmother kept at the edge of our kitchen garden and used for nearly every concern of the digestive kind. Over 30,000 people are using it, and the full description is in the link below. As always, please speak to your doctor before starting any supplement, especially if you are managing blood sugar or taking any medications. Number 4, infections that keep returning. Elevated blood sugar feeds bacteria and yeast the way a wet summer feeds garden weeds. The most common targets in older women are the urinary tract and warm skin folds. Patricia, 69 years old, a former librarian from Hot Springs, Arkansas, had dealt with 3 urinary tract infections in a single year. What had been overlooked was the pattern of blood sugar, making her urine hospitable to bacteria. Over 6 months of dietary changes and fermented vegetables at the evening meal, she went the following year without a single infection. Her doctor was puzzled but pleased. Do speak with your own doctor about recurring infections. Number 3, unexplained weight changes, especially around the belly. When insulin resistance deepens, the body shifts how it stores what we eat. Fuel that should nourish the cells goes into fat storage instead, and the belly responds quickly to elevated insulin. Some people also lose weight unexpectedly, as the body draws on muscle for energy when cells are starved of glucose they cannot absorb. Both gaining and losing in ways that feel disconnected from your eating habits can point to the same root disruption. The belly keeps its own record. Speak with your doctor if the changes are significant. Number 2, brain fog, forgetfulness, and difficulty holding a thought. The brain uses glucose as its primary fuel, and older brains are especially sensitive to fluctuations in their supply. When insulin resistance takes hold, the brain can struggle to absorb what it needs, a pattern some researchers have begun calling insulin resistance of the brain. The result is fog after meals, names that slip away, sentences that start and do not finish. William, 75 years old, a former farmer from Traverse City, Michigan, had been dismissing his afternoon forgetfulness as the years settling in. Once we examined his meal patterns and made 2 adjustments, his daughter noticed the change before he did. By his 3rd month, his fasting glucose had dropped by 17%. He wrote to me and said his mornings felt like the mornings he remembered from his 50s. And now we arrive at number 1. Number 1, the slow, silent pattern that holds every other sign inside it. This is what my grandmother called the quiet harvest. The slow accumulation of a pattern the body has been showing for years before any formal word appears on a medical form. The process is called chronic glucose dysregulation. Long before blood sugar crosses any clinical threshold, it has already been rising after meals and returning to baseline more slowly than it should. The cell receptors that respond to insulin have been losing their sensitivity gradually, the way an old door latch wears loose over years of daily use. The body produces more and more insulin to compensate, pressing harder on doors that are slowly stiffening. Every sign we discussed today, the thirst, the shifting vision, the slow healing skin, the tingling feet, the post-meal fatigue, the darkened folds, the recurring infections, the belly weight, the afternoon fog, every one of them is this same process showing itself through a different window. A study from Johns Hopkins University, published in 2017, followed more than 9,000 adults over an 11-year period and found that consistent daily habits, reducing post-meal blood sugar spikes, lowered the risk of progression toward clinical blood sugar disease by 41%. 41%. The laboratories arrived at what the women in our community had been quietly demonstrating for generations: plain eating, walking after meals, fermented foods, early sleep. These are patterns the body recognizes and rewards. The daily path I walk our neighbors through goes like this. Start the morning with warm water and a spoonful of raw apple cider vinegar before any food. This slows the blood sugar rise after the first meal. Add a spoonful of fermented vegetable, sauerkraut or pickled beets from the jar at both the noon and evening meals. At the table, eat your vegetables first, then your protein, and let the bread or potato come last. That order slows how quickly glucose enters the blood. Walk after every meal, even 5 minutes around the kitchen. Go to bed at the same hour each night because broken sleep raises cortisol, and cortisol raises blood sugar, and that cycle deepens itself if left to run. Frances, 70 years old, a former seamstress from Charleston, South Carolina, came to me 2 years ago with 7 of these 10 signs. Together, we built a simple daily rhythm around these practices. 14 months later, her fasting glucose had come down by 22%. The dark patches at her neck had faded considerably. The tingling in her feet had quieted. She told me, "Rebecca, I feel like I have been given my body back." Those words are why I still make these videos. After 65 years of watching what works, here is what I can tell you with certainty. Tip 1. Consistency over perfection. A 5-minute walk after supper every evening outperforms an hour-long walk on Saturday. The body keeps its accounts daily, and daily deposits compound. Tip 2. The order of the plate matters. Eating vegetables before bread or potato reduces the blood sugar spike from that meal by as much as 30%, according to researchers who have examined this carefully. Our grandmothers served the greens and pickles first because they watched what happened when they did. Tip 3. Morning light before morning food. 5 minutes outside in natural light before your first meal helps reset the body's insulin timing for the entire day. No cost, no preparation, and nearly no one I speak with has ever heard of it. 3 mistakes I see neighbors make when they begin to address these signs. Mistake 1. Waiting for a formal diagnosis before making changes. These signs arrive years before any word is used. The time to act is when the body first raises its hand. Mistake 2. Removing all sweetness at once. This almost always leads to cravings that undo everything within a week. Swapping works better than eliminating. Swap sweet tea for water with lemon and a small measure of raw honey. Swap the cookie for a small square of dark chocolate and a few walnuts. The body adjusts slowly, and slowly is how the change holds. Mistake 3. Treating this as a daytime problem only. Going to bed after midnight while doing everything right during the day works against the very goals you are building. Blood sugar regulation is tied deeply to sleep, and an earlier bedtime carries more power than most people expect. Before we close, I want to say something that matters more than any sign on this list. This is about the afternoon when your granddaughter reaches up for your hand without being asked, the way a small child reaches for what has always felt like safety, and the morning you walk to the end of your own driveway and back and feel your legs honest and steady beneath you. It is never too late for the body to begin its turning. I have watched women in their late 70s and 80s quiet these signs through nothing more than steady, patient daily habits applied with care. The body that is asking for your attention is also capable of answering it. Let me pull all 10 of these together for you. Number 10, the thirst that does not quit, the kidneys calling for help. Number 9, vision that blurs and shifts, the lens of the eye showing what the blood is carrying. Number 8, wounds that heal slowly, the small vessels stiff and narrowed. Number 7, tingling or burning in the feet and hands, the long nerves raising their hand. Number 6, deep fatigue after meals, the cells unable to receive their fuel. Number 5, dark velvety patches at the neck or underarms, elevated insulin writing itself on the skin. Number 4, infections that keep returning, blood sugar feeding what should not be fed. Number 3, unexplained weight changes, the belly keeping its own account. Number 2, brain fog and fading concentration, the brain's fuel supply running uneven. And number 1, the slow, silent pattern underneath every one of them, years of rising blood sugar, wearing the door hinges loose, one season at a time. If this helped you today, share it with someone you love. Send it to a sister, a neighbor, a spouse who has been tired and wondering why. Subscribe if you are not already here. Leave a comment below and tell me which of these 10 signs you are going to start watching for first. I read every single comment on this channel and I want to hear from you. The link for ButchBod is in the description whenever you are ready to take a look. Until next time, may your days be plain and your health be strong.